It's one of my favourite times of the week where we get to take a little look back in history, historyouthere.com. And of course, the man himself, Harold Peacock, is on the line. Mate, how are you today?
Fantastic, Damo. I'm excited. This is a great story that goes from Gundawindi to Warwick and everywhere in between.
Yes, and it's a story of the return of a girl who had been lost in the bush near Gundawindi for 14 years.
Yeah, look, next month is the 150th anniversary of her return, and look, it's an extraordinary story. And look, it starts with the loss of a little girl named Bessie Downing from Callandoon station near Gundawindi in 1860. Now, living on the station was John and Mary Downing and their 8 children. In July of 1860, the station was the scene of a huge gathering of Aboriginals for a big corroboree. Now, 2 of the Downing children, there was 6-year-old Willie and 3.5-year-old Bessie, wandered out in the bush while they were playing and were lost. Willie was found 2 days later on a nearby run, but nothing bar some tracks could be found of little Bessie. One of the local mob, who was called Old Baranga, tracked Bessie for 2 miles, but wouldn't go any further because he wanted to go back to the corroboree. Now, stories spread that Bessie had been rescued and taken by visiting Aboriginals. Whatever the case, her disappearance became Australia-wide news and a profound mystery. Now, her father, John Downing, wrote a letter to the newspaper pledging all the money he had for his daughter's return. He offered £100 reward, which back then was around 2 years' wages.
Wow.
Now, the mother held on to the belief that her daughter had been adopted by an Aboriginal mob and was safe and well. On several occasions, she was buoyed by news of children with fair skin seen in camps somewhere in Queensland and New South Wales. She even wrote a pamphlet advertising her cause, asking for reports. Now, years passed, and everyone except the mother had given up hope. The family moved to Warwick, but it was there that a credible report reached them that a girl answering the description of Bessie was living with a small party of Aboriginals at Millie near Narrabri, down in New South Wales. Now, a son, John Downing Jr., set out from Warwick on horseback, leading a pack horse. The police magistrate, Philip Pinnock, telegraphed ahead, and police down there in Tenterfield found the girl that they were looking for. She answered the description, having blue eyes and auburn hair, and had certain identifying marks on her body. It was the unanimous opinion of local residents down there, who had known the girl for 13 or 14 years, that she was the lost Bessie Downing. Now, John Downing, the brother, the son, and the girl set out on the journey back north to Warwick. The Aboriginals with whom the girl had lived threatened to follow and kill them both. A police escort was provided in the early stages of the journey to guard against, an attempted rescue or worse. Now, John rode the pack horse and the girl was mounted on a saddle horse. They returned to Warwick via Sandy Creek. Now, it was too much for the parents, John and Mary, to sit at home waiting, so the couple and 2 other sons rushed out to Sandy Creek to meet the pair coming north. As the story goes, it was in April 1874 that Bessie Downing, who'd been lost for 14 years and was now 17 years of age, was reunited with the parents at a point about 5 miles from Warwick, near Sandy Creek, on the Gundawindi Road. Now, after the affectionate scenes you'd expect, the reunited, happy family returned together to the Downing home. Mary Downing, the mother, however, she had immediate doubts about the identity of the girl. And it wasn't long before Mary was certain that the girl taken from the Millie Aboriginals actually was not her daughter. Now, the unfortunate girl was sent to work at Brushaver's Harmony Hotel at Sandy Creek. She became an epileptic and passed away in a mental hospital. Mary Downing eventually reconciled to the fact that her daughter Bessie had died in the bush all those years ago, because in her family Bible she wrote that Bessie had gone to heaven on July 13, 1860. Now, some of the old Aboriginals said that Bessie was actually taken by dingoes. Now, Mary saw it. She saw her out of days in Warwick at Glanville Dale on the Stanthorpe Road. She passed away in 1917, just 3 weeks short of her 95th birthday, and all those years she's been central to this incredible story of lost, found, and then lost again that spread around Australia, and was the headlines for decades.
Wow. And you can just imagine living with a child that you're not really sure is yours.
That's right, and you've been missing and yearning for 14 years, thinking what she'd look like, and this girl turns up that actually does look like her, and doesn't have a memory of her own childhood because she'd been orphaned at a similar age. So just an amazing story, but heartbreaking as well, because you can only imagine what it'd be like.
Oh, that'd be tragedy, wouldn't it? Oh, jeez. Well, look, we can read that story and many others because you put all of these online, don't you?
That's right. Online, historyouthere.com.
And there's some great stories there. The amazing Reverend Dr. Zillman, which we spoke about last week, the tragedy of the flying tailor. And there's also some great stories there too about flag swapping and the kidnapping bank manager. So,
oh, look, there's so many. And look, you've got to remember that the Darling Downs is the beginning of Queensland. This is how Queensland was settled. It wasn't settled from the coast. It was settled up through inland, through the Grazies, up through Darling Downs. That's where the history of Queensland is. There's so many more stories to tell.
oh, fantastic. And of course, if anyone's got a great story to tell, you'd love to hear from them, wouldn't you?
Absolutely. You can reach out to you, Damien, or go via historyouthere.com online. Let me know, because any lead for a story, local history like that, let me research and add some more to it, because you never know what might uncover that has never been told before.
Exactly. And also, you may have a community group. You might like to get Harold to come along and have a speak to the group, because you do talking sessions too, don't you?
Absolutely. I love to tell the stories. I love to share with the historical societies or any of the speaking groups. I'm available. Let's just find a calendar date in advance, and I'll be there. I'd love to get out there and meet people.
Fantastic. Jump on to historyouthere.com. That's historyouthere.com, and get in touch with Harold, especially if you've got a great story. Mate, thank you so much for that. We'll look forward to doing it all again next week.
Fantastic. It's great history out there.